Welcome to New Mexico's Influence Magazine Show, the premier talk show where we celebrate diversity in the state of New Mexico. Of course, if you followed us for any time, you know, with each episode, we bring on an individual doing influential and significant work, all in the spirit of diversity. If this is your first time tuning in, you can get more information about us online at influencenm.com. That's influencenm.com. Like us in social media, Facebook page is New Mexico's Influence, as well as Instagram, LinkedIn, and Pinterest. For this particular episode, all past episodes and future episodes, you can find us on YouTube. Go to your search bar, toss in New Mexico's Influence Magazine. When you get there, please subscribe, give us a thumbs up or a like, and of course, hit that bell so you don't miss any future episodes of the show. Okay, when we come back, we're going to bring on our featured guest of the day. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
When looking for an insurance agent, you need an agent that is experienced and local. You need Ashley Dalton Insurance Agency. With 2 convenient locations, 3207 North White Sands Boulevard in Alamogordo, 1200 Suttereth Drive in Ruidoso, and over 11 years experience, the Ashley Dalton Agency can take care of any of your insurance needs. Home, rental, auto, recreational vehicle, business, and life insurance all in one place. Ashley Dalton Insurance Agency, call today.
Welcome back to the Influence Magazine Show. Okay, today we're going to be bringing on a special guest. Let me introduce his background real quickly. He's known as a librarian of uncommon knowledge. How about that? A performance coach and a modern day sales Buddha. One of his most remarkable successes is with Indeed.com. We're all familiar with that. He built the sales management process based on his book, which we'll talk about in a minute. And their business exploded so much they were able to sell it to a company called Recruit out of Japan for an undisclosed sum. When he started with them, their income was about $20 million a year in sales. Now they're the largest global job site, and their sales annually begin with a B, as in billion. This gentleman is the founder of the Klymshyn method. Again, he's an author, speaker, and a coach. He's also the founder of the Business Generator and also Your Startup Advisors, podcast host and co-founder. He is one of the most sought after sales guru coaches in the country and is a former Navy veteran. We appreciate your service, sir. We're going to talk to him about this book. And if you follow the magazine on any level, this is our current edition of the magazine. It's on the streets, Influence. This gentleman wrote for us a nice little leadership piece. Ladies and gentlemen, help me bring on the show Mr. John Klymshyn. Welcome to the show, John.
Cedric, what a thrill. Thank you for including me in this rare opportunity. I know that the screening process for your guests is rigorous.
Absolutely.
And, I was shocked that I made it through.
John, you earned the right. Full disclosure, folks. John and I go back 30 plus years. He and I used to beat the streets, pound the pavement in Los Angeles, California, selling door to door back when cold calling was a real thing. And you knocked on doors, you went into a building, you went right up and down the elevator, and you knocked on every door. Full disclosure, he and I got thrown out of some buildings. In fact, John, I don't know if you remember that.
I wasn't sure if you were going to share that or not.
We walked right through no soliciting signs, didn't we?
Well, no soliciting in Ukrainian means Klymshyn, please come in.
Okay. That's why you led the way, John. I appreciate that.
The way I read it, I was being invited.
That's outstanding. Welcome to the show, John. We're going to talk to you today about leadership and obviously a little bit about your background. So let's just get started with Tell our audience about yourself, your, ethnicity. This is a diversity-oriented show. Your ethnicity and where you're from.
Well, when you say ethnicity, I am a second-generation American. My father and grandfather were both raised on my father's side. My father was raised by a Ukrainian immigrant who, when he came to the United States in the early 1900s, did not speak a word of English. My grandfather met a Polish girl. I have no idea how they communicated, but we have the wedding photo. So it shows 18, 20 people in typical early 1900s dressed up garb, and not a single one of them in the wedding photo is smiling. They were all just very dour, because I don't think they were accustomed to being photographed. So my father's family is from the Ukraine and from Poland. My mother's family, Ireland and France. So there's a photo there. You can see a kind of a, what do they call it? Like a cameo photo. That is my father, William Bernard McCarthy of Ireland, who graduated from the New York City Police Academy, because if you were Irish and came to New York, that's what you did for a living. So he was a New York City policeman. He met a French girl, and they had my mother and her sister. So again, on both sides, I'm second generation American. Both of my parents were the first people from Europe, from the European family lines, to be born in the U.S. So I'm Irish, French, Ukrainian, Polish. That's my ethnicity. I was born in New York City, what many people do not consider New York City, but is, and that's Queens, right? Everybody thinks that New York City is Manhattan. Manhattan is one of the 5 boroughs. So when I was about 3 years old, my parents were working very hard, and they decided to buy a house out in the country, which meant that they bought the Levittown style house, where there were 28 houses on the street. All of them were the exact identical layout. And we were in the suburbs, and my cousins who grew up in the Bronx, which is another one of the boroughs of New York City, they thought that we were hicks because we had grass in front of our house.
Okay. Interesting. That's outstanding. Joe, what's your educational background?
Well, I have a master's degree from the School of Hard Knocks, Cedric. I graduated high school a year early with intentions, dreams, and hopes of going to a music school, a world-famous music school. Didn't quite work out that way. My father, being a first-generation American, making a living as a musician or a composer just did not register with him. So we had a little bit of friction, as most teenage boys and their dads do. So I doubled up on courses, graduated high school a year early with the intent of going to Berklee School of Music, and I should be arriving there any minute now.
Okay. So you took a left turn, and
took a left turn, went off and became a semi-professional musician. What I mean by semi-professional is that when we did gigs and we paid for dinner or breakfast at the end of the gig, nobody went home with any money. Did that for the better part of 2 years. Toured the tri-state area in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, played all of the major colleges there, Rutgers, NYU, Hofstra, UConn, all of those. And the band came to a critical mass where 3 of the members wanted to go this way, the rest of the band wanted to go that way. So pretty much everybody quit within 24 hours. I found myself not really knowing what I wanted to do outside of the fact that I had always been fascinated with languages, had always been interested in music, and the intersection between those two seemed to draw me to want to travel. So I after working, loading and unloading boxes for an office products store in Huntington, New York, and experiencing 5 snowstorms in 3 days, I decided I need to get out of here. So I walked down to the Navy recruiting office. And I said to the guy, I want to join the Navy. And if you don't get me out of here in 2 weeks, I'm going to walk down the hall and join the Air Force. Okay. So they gave me a written test, which is called the ASVAB, the Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery. Basically, they want to know that you, number 1, you can spell your name correctly. Number 2, you can complete a sentence. And I did reasonably well on that test.
Good.
And the recruiter said, I'm going to give you a list of all of the jobs in the Navy, and then I'm going to give you a list of the really cool jobs that you qualify for. And one of them was working on a nuclear sub. The other was being an air traffic controller. And I picked being a cook. Because I just wanted to have fun, man. And what it was that I wanted the Navy to take me out of New York. Specifically, I wanted it to take me to Europe. There, growing up listening to English rock and roll, hearing French, hearing Italian, hearing German, it spoke to me on a very deep level. You and I have known each other a long time. You know what a fanatic I am for language and for languages. And I wanted to see the Colosseum. I wanted to see the cathedral in Cologne. I wanted to see what Amsterdam looked like. And of course, in boot camp, they have you fill out a form that says, where would you like to be stationed? So I asked for Jacksonville, Norfolk, and Groton, Connecticut. So of course, they sent me to San Diego. So out of San Diego, I joined a helicopter squadron. We did what's called the West Pacific cruise. That took me to Singapore and Korea and the Philippines, which was wildly exotic for a 20-year-old guy. After a year and a half of being attached to that helicopter squadron, I was shifted to the construction battalion division of the Navy. They're called the Seabees. And that's when things opened up for me, because the day I checked in to the battalion in Southern California, they said, don't unpack your sea bag because we're leaving in 3 days. And I said, where are we going? And they said, we're going to the southern coast of Spain, and we're going to be there for 6 months. And I was happy.
Outstanding.
So when you talk about education, more experience, I've been a fanatical reader since I was very young. Yeah. I've never completed any college or advanced level degree. It hasn't shown up on my radar.
You were given a gift, and you found a way to let your light shine without having to go that route. Outstanding. We're going to talk about your life's work in a minute here, but
okay.
Just describe your current situation. What's a day in the life like for John Klymshyn, Coach K?
Okay. Up early, journaling 3 out of 5 days. And specifically, my journaling at this stage of my life is so that my children know what's really on my mind. I've encountered someone out of Southern California who's built a very successful real estate training organization. And it came out of the fact that he wanted his kids to understand how to handle money, how you manage money. And it's called Cash Flow Diary. Gentleman's name is Jay Massey. And it inspired me, and I hadn't gotten around to it until recently, to write down, what do I really think about life? What do I think about faith? What do I think about human interaction? What do I think about trust and integrity and all that stuff? So I've been journaling that, and that's early in my day. Immediately after that, I begin a series of coaching meetings, whether they're over Zoom or over the phone. I do an average of 5 coaching calls a day, some days more, some days less, but it's an average of about 5. And those coaching calls are with CEOs, president, owner, founders. They have all 3 of those titles, and enterprise salespeople. So when you mentioned earlier my background in sales, the way that I survived the global financial crisis coming out of 2008, was that I found a way to find executives and apply my concepts and approaches to language, to leadership. And that's what led to a lot that's happened since then. So my typical day, I'm usually done working between 2 and 2:30. Spend a lot of time with my guitar, spend an inordinate amount and wonderful time with my 37 years bride. And we have a boat that we take out to the lake when weather permits. And the rest of the year, we're enjoying the wonder of the change of seasons in Southwest Idaho.
The good life.
It works.
So what was your inspiration for becoming a leader?
I was a recruiter early on. When you and I met, I was working at an employment agency in Encino, California. Prior to you and I knocking on doors on Ventura Boulevard and getting kicked out of buildings.
That was us.
Because we were trying to sell sales training. Prior to doing that, I was in the employment business. My first sales job out of the Navy was working at an employment agency in Lower Manhattan. Terry and I spent a year there. Both of us had enough, me probably more than her, and we moved back to California. At that time, I had called on and reached out to several agencies in Southern California. Two of them almost offered me the job over the phone because the volume was very different between New York and Southern California. So what got me into leadership was that I have a desire to collaborate. Being a musician, I love helping. I think part of it is birth order. I was the third of 4 children, and I was the third boy, and the one behind me was a girl. So, I wanted to mix it up. I wanted to be involved. I wanted to help. And when I was developing my technique as a professional salesperson, selling recruiting services to corporations, I would see people come in, sit at a desk, make some phone calls, and quit within a couple of days. And I thought it was because they just didn't really have any technique. So I started helping people. And then someone said to me, how interested would you be in leading a team so you can help a team? And I worked with a woman who ran one portion of the business. I ran the other, and we did extremely well together. So I guess what inspired me to be in leadership partly was what I learned in the Navy, because I went through a leadership academy when I became a petty officer. And the other part is I just have a deep need and desire to help people. And I love the fact that you picked up on the fact that I just changed my LinkedIn profile information to librarian of uncommon knowledge. I just yanked that out of my head this morning. And I think that's really my distinguishing characteristic, because I don't think that I have yet to encounter anyone who focuses on the importance, the power, and the true musicality of language quite the way that I do. It may sound arrogant to say I don't really have any competitors. There are people out there that will get hired to do work that I could do. Where I have the relationships that last the longest is where we have a lot of territory to cover, and we go deep and we reach high. So very long answer to what inspired me to become a leader. I love to serve.
Outstanding. And you're doing a good job of that. So you wrote a nice piece in the magazine here on leadership. What would you say the three are three very, very important attributes for to be an effective leader?
Number one, truly listen. Not listen to get to the end of the sentence, not listen to see if you can change someone's mind. Listen so you hear what is going on with the people that you're leading. Second, consistency. I said to someone who I was working with that was moving from being an executive VP to getting their first C-suite role, I said, you no longer have the luxury of anger. You can be disappointed with activity or behaviors from your people. You do not have the luxury of anger. You need to act as an executive, and you need to find a way to further develop that person. So being consistent doesn't mean we have to be an automaton, doesn't mean that we do not display any emotion. What we do display is a consistency, because over and over, time and again, when people are asked, what is the thing you want from your leaders the most? Overwhelmingly, the answer is consistency. I don't have to agree with my leader, but at least I know where they stand because they are consistent. So first is listening. Second is consistency. And the third is service.
Service.
You do not exist so that your people can serve you. You are in this role and in this privileged position so that you can serve them. One of the things that I learned from that woman that I co-managed the office with, she said this to me years ago, and I love this. She said, every single day, your precious inventory gets up and walks out of the office. Your people are your precious inventory.
Nice. Outstanding. That's good. Folks, we're talking to John Klymshyn, also known as Coach K. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. We are back to the Influence Magazine show. I'm your host, Cedric Fisher, and today's featured guest is John Klymshyn, Coach K. Welcome back, John. Let's talk about extracurricular activities and how did you kind of get started with whatever you do in your spare time?
Well, I love when people say spare time as though it's just laying around in chunks on our desk somewhere. Here's the thing. The older I get, and I know that you maintain the same age from when we met, I keep getting older.
Well, you're
You stay
charming.
the same age. I don't know how you do it. But people talk about this concept called time management, Cedric, and I think that is the great American myth. I don't think there is such a thing as time management. I don't have that kind of power. I can't manage how my children grow and who they have become. I can participate in that and hope for the best. And I can't, even no matter how disciplined I am with my calendar, I don't manage time. What I do manage is what I do with that time, how I commit, how I spend that time. And I think one of the biggest questions for all of us to answer is, how do I want to spend my time? So when you say, what are my extracurricular activities? Well, I'm a fanatic musician. I started many years ago playing drums. I have played baritone horn. I've played flute. I've played tuned percussion. I currently play guitar and bass guitar and sing. And all of these are disciplines. They don't just arrive. They require a profound investment of time if you want to have any level of proficiency. And I play gigs where it's just me and the guitar. And that is a level of exposure that requires a lot of planning and discipline in advance. So my extracurricular activities, first is music, second is my boat.
Okay. Good life. You've had a myriad of accomplishments since I've known you. I mean, just pioneered this and innovated that and started this and launched that. What would you consider to be your greatest accomplishment?
Well, greatest personal accomplishment is being married to the same woman for 37 years, and she keeps showing up, and it mystifies me.
Outstanding.
Greatest professional accomplishment is the idea for the discipline to go through the creation of and being paid to have published 3 different books. We live in a world where someone who has a keyboard can refer to themselves as an author, and that's great.
Yeah.
When a major publishing company like Wiley & Sons, which is the 5th largest on earth, when they come to you and say, we want to pay you in advance, we want to edit, design, print, and distribute your work, that's a significant accomplishment. And I've been fortunate enough to do it 3 times. So the reason that is a big deal to me, number one, is many people talk about writing a book and never complete it. I've been asked to write 3. Now, I've written more than that, which are still on the hard drive, and we got to finish those. But having 3 that have 3 separate voices, 3 separate areas of commentary and ideas, and all of them have what publishers call legs, meaning that they've sold for a long time after the first 6 months after publication, that's a big accomplishment. And the key is this. Now, you as a publisher, you understand this better than anyone. If I can look at my work 6 months, 6 years after it's been published, and I can open it up and I can read it, and it keeps me reading, that's good writing.
Good stuff. No doubt about it. It also creates legacy, so it's a beautiful thing that you'll be able to impact and influence generations to come with your writing. John, what's the one thing most people don't know about you but should?
I am a man of deep faith. I have attempted 3 times to own my own business. The first one failed. The second one failed miserably. Cost me my home because I was so bullheaded that I was not willing to learn. I didn't learn from my previous mistake, and I was convinced that it was all about me. The third time I sat down to begin my business, I said, this business belongs to God. He lets me work here. And here I am 23 years later.
Outstanding. Man of faith. Giving some credit to a higher being.
I did not invent myself. I did not give myself whatever gifts I have. They are gifts. They're not my invention. They're not my creation. So before I perform, including tonight, I will spend quiet time saying, thank you for this gift. Thank you for the opportunity to share this gift. Help me not to make this about me, but about the gift. And 2.5 hours just disappears.
Very nice. Very nice. So, on the show, we get the privilege of interviewing a ton of leaders. And one of the things we've kind of agreed on here in the studio is that all leaders are readers. They're always reading something.
Oh, yeah.
And that book is typically found on their nightstand, John. What book's on your nightstand?
The Da Vinci biography by Walter Isaacson. I'm reading the first book in a fantasy trilogy called The Way of Kings. And you'll love this. When we were in St. Louis several weeks ago, we went to the Gateway Arch. And in the bookstore downstairs, my wife came across a book, took it off the shelf. When we went up to the counter to buy souvenirs, she just put it on the counter, didn't even ask me if I wanted it. She knew I would want it. It was 200 quotes from Mark Twain.
Nice.
So that's what I'm reading. That's my morning, in between journaling and getting to my coaching calls and cooking myself some eggs and sausage. And one of my favorites by him that is not, I don't think it's as recognized or as famous as a lot of his quotes. And it's imagination toils best in distant fields.
Interesting. Makes a lot of sense, though.
I love it. And his other one, always do right. It will satisfy many people and astonish the rest.
Very good. That's good. That's really good. That's really good. I like that one. Next question. Obviously, this is a diversity publication, magazine, and talk show. Where would you consider yourself in the diversity kind of phase? Tolerating it, accommodating it, or celebrating it?
I celebrate it. And here's the thing. Number one, there's no mistaking. I'm a bald white guy. And I don't apologize for that. And I don't think that anyone should have to apologize for it. My wife and I, when we were raising our children in Southern California, we were proud of what we referred to as raising children who were colorblind. And that doesn't mean that we don't recognize people's ethnicity or background, but that is not how we decide who we will welcome into our home. My kids had friends from all different backgrounds, and they were always welcome in our home. And they would spend the night and they would watch movies with us. And here's the thing. The more time we spend figuring out what we have in common, the less time we will have to find out what we have that's not in common. We're all created by the same person, entity, being, right? There's an old joke, right? Why did God make man first before woman? Because he always makes a prototype. He couldn't get it right the first time. I don't see anything in the Bible. I don't see anything in the Quran. I don't see anything in any of the great religious writings that say that you should first look at someone's ethnicity to find out what's in their heart. All of them point to the heart, right? And I mean, how many societies on earth, when someone talks about something that's meaningful or important to them, do we all reach for the center of our chest with our fingertips pointed right at our heart? This area of the body and chakra and everywhere else is this is our center. This is our core. And you know what? The invisible part of us, but the clearly identifiable part of us, which is our spirit, who we are, our personality, that's what I look for. And that's what I see. Listen, the fact that you and I have known each other we're knocking on almost 40 years now, brother.
Wow.
Yeah. And that every time we have connected after not seeing each other or talking for a while, every time we pick up right where we left off. Why? Because we both are, number one, we're fans of excellence. Number two, we have a sense of humor about ourselves. And number three, we just like each other. I don't know what else there is.
Yeah.
Because the more you add to it, the more complicated it becomes. One of my key things in that article that you point out, that article is entitled, "What Condition Do You Want to Create as a Leader?" And in that article, I say, the longer it takes you to explain your thought, the less clear it is.
Very
So
good.
who are you? I'm a man of integrity. Cool. We got something in common. What do you want to do? I want to serve. Cool. We got something in common. So that was a very long answer, even though I said your answer.
No problem. We're going to take a break, but before we go, let me ask you this question. So over the years, I've known you as quite a wordsmith. Everybody that knows you, we know you're a wordsmith, John.
That's my thing.
And language means a lot to you. How did you arrive there? That is kind of your primary focus. Let's unpack that for us.
Over the years of me reading, because you said leaders are readers, right? Over the years of me reading, there have been sentences that have stuck with me out of novels that I read. There have been things that I've heard people say that I've gone to write down. And after 20 years, 25 years of that awareness and pursuing my passion as a musician, about 10 years ago, it came to me as an epiphany. And you'll love this because everyone that I mentioned this to, and I'm going to tell you what it is, and I'm sure you're going to have almost the same reaction. I woke up one day and I said, oh my God, the thing that drives me is the intersection between language and music. And I said it to my friends and I said it to my wife, and they're like, yeah, we knew that about you.
Interesting.
So I'm not even looking in the mirror. The fact that language is at its core music, that it has tone, it has tempo, it has dynamics, certainly has emotion and feeling, has resonance, right? You know what the first musical instrument in history was? The human voice. Think about it. When you hear the voice of your children, your parents, something triggers inside you. When we hear a song that we absolutely love and we cannot hear enough, it triggers something inside us. It lights something. It's the definition of inspire, to light a fire within. And language and music, the amazing thing is that you look at a keyboard and there's only so many notes. There's only so many octaves. But we have not even come near every possible song that could be written.
We're going to take a break on that note. We're talking to John Klymshyn, the language aficionado. He actually speaks about 4 different languages. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this sponsor break.
Whether you're looking to buy, sell, or rent a home, you've come to the right place. Welcome Home Realty. With over 40 years experience in real estate, Micah Swartz and Sharon Carr are well known throughout the community. Welcome Home Realty is your best source in Alamogordo, Tularosa, La Luz, Cloudcroft, and all other areas within Otero and Lincoln Counties, New Mexico.
Welcome back to the Influence Magazine show. We're here with Coach K, John Klymshyn, also known as language aficionado. John, welcome back. We got about 5 more questions before we wrap up here. So I want to ask you this question. What do executives need to think about when they, in your words, craft language?
When I say we need to craft language, I want to make sure that we are not succumbing to knee-jerk reactions or responses. Actually, there's a big difference between a reaction and response, right? A reaction is knee-jerk, it's immediate, it's almost instinctive. A response is fraught with clear thought. And I say that slowly so I pronounce them both properly. When we craft language, our response is fraught with clear thought. And what that means is that very often leaders will figure out their message as they're delivering it. That is a disservice to your audience. And your audience could be a member of your family. It could be your executive team. It could be your entire company. Whenever we are delivering a message that we want to have resonate with people, it's critical that we craft that language. And think about it. If we go back to medieval times, right? Or even current times, what is a craft? It means that I have a specific technique I need to learn to be able to operate the tools safely and productively. And a craft is something that we can elevate almost to the form of art. So when we craft language, it means that I want leaders to take a half a second in their mind, and before they say anything, they ask themselves, what do I want the language I'm about to deliver to accomplish? Because if it's to dress someone down, is that really the best thing for both of us in this relationship and for the future of the organization? If it's to correct, well, then I need to do it the right way, with respect and with clarity. Last thing we want in a correctional conversation is for someone to go away and not be sure what you want them to do or change or improve or stop. So crafting language is taking a very specific set of high-end tools to what it is that we're going to say. And the more we do it, the more interested we become in repeating it, because number one, our meetings are shorter. They are more productive. And there is better resonance. There's a better ripple effect after. Because remember what I said, number one thing that people want from leaders is consistency. So I have a conversation with you, and then I have a conversation with your peer, and then I have another conversation with another peer that is in a remote location, and the three of them get together and start talking about you as a leader or me as a leader. We want them saying, you know what? I always know what I'm going to get. I hope I'm going to learn more from my leader, but I know what I'm going to get.
Very good. Talking leadership here, so how can the modern executives really excel in today's kind of global business environment? The modern executive, how can they excel in today's global business environment?
Number one, stay off of social media. If you want to observe it and you want us to be entertained, God bless you, go do it. Just don't put anything out there because it doesn't serve you. Number two, learn basic conversational in at least one language beyond your native language. I was in junior high school, and I was tagged as someone who had an affinity or an ability for languages. I had the ear for it. Again, back to my musical days. I was offered a second language in 7th grade in the New York school system. I studied Russian for 5 years. Now, that's not as cool today as it has been in the past, not as exotic, and I understand. But here's the thing. Russian is a very difficult language. The idioms are different. The alphabet is different. The pronunciation is different. And what I found in studying another language was Cedric, you cannot learn any basic conversational portion of a foreign language without learning something about the culture. When we took our kids, we were blessed and fortunate after years of hard work to be able to take our pre-teenage children to Europe for the first time. We were going to go to Germany and France. And I told both of them, you are going to learn how to say yes, no, please, thank you, how much is this, and can you tell me where the restroom is? In both German and French, or you're not getting on the plane with me. Because I wanted them to address the people in that country in their own language. And I got to tell you, man, the reception and the treatment that we received was different from so many other stories that you hear. Why? Because we took the time and we showed the respect. Any second language that you learn basic conversational in is going to indicate to you something about the culture. And French is a great example. The French don't say, how you doing? The French from 6 years old to 90 years old, they say bonjour or bonne nuit. That's it. They limit colloquialisms. Why? Because they don't want that separation among the French-speaking people.
Very good. Earlier in the show, you talked about force and power.
Yes.
What is it about those two things that really get your attention? Why you focus?
Well, they newly minted leaders make the mistake of thinking that because they have now carry a title or a role. And I learned this in the Navy, right? Someone was promoted to one rank above me, and all of a sudden they felt as though they were above me. That doesn't work. They have different responsibilities and they get a different pay grade. I get it, but don't treat me as though you're above me. So when I talk about power and force, newly minted managers and some managers or leaders that have been at it for a while, they think that their title gives them power. That's incorrect. Because what those people tend to do is they attempt to lead by using force. You need to do this because I'm in charge. You need to do this because I am in this role. That doesn't resonate with people. There's a distinct difference between power and force. And power, when you think about people that you've been around who are powerful, we use words like centered, confident, focused, attentive, present. When we talk about people who are forceful, we immediately, our body language changes. If you're in the room with someone who is powerful, you observe a couple of things. Number one, they're not in a hurry. Number two, they're not wondering what else is going on. They're connected to and present with you. And number three, they don't have to raise their voice. And what does that do? What that does is that creates a magnetism around that person. So to me, the inspiring leaders, the leaders of today and tomorrow, must operate from a position of power, which exists here, not externally. It exists here. And I boiled it down to this. Power is attractive. Force is repellent. So as a leader, do you want your messages, your instructions, your guidance, or your suggestions to be repelled or attracted? And it is much more difficult to explain and much more complicated than that, but that's the best I can do with our limited time.
Very good. John, what do your clients say they get from working with you?
I will tell you the most recent comments I've been getting. Number one, I've never thought about it that way. Number two, I have to remind myself to get out of the way. And number three, we are in so much better shape now. So to me, those are inspiring and powerful, because I am not in the business of telling people what to say in their leadership conversations. I'm in the business of teaching them how to think about how they craft and deliver that language so that they can be more effective leaders. And efficiency is not about speed. Efficiency is, think about, a machine that's efficient. It doesn't waste any energy. It gets the job done, and it gets it done accurately the first time. My late father used to say all the time, isn't it amazing how there is always time to do something over, but there's rarely time to do it right the first time?
Very good. Very good. This has been quite an enriching conversation, John, as all of ours have always been for 30 plus years, closer to 40, as you mentioned earlier.
Wow.
We're going to be wrapping it up here, but should any of our viewers want to reach back out to you or get any more information from you, what have you, how would they do that?
Make it as simple as possible. Email me, john@klymshyn.com. There is a form on our website, which is klymshyn.com. And I know you were very surprised to hear that we could actually obtain that domain, that it wasn't already taken. It's nice. KLY, M like Mary, S like Sam, HYN like Nancy.com, Klymshyn.com. I'm sure it's going to be on the screen. John@klymshyn.com. I am not some removed author who has, a team and publicists and all that stuff. I literally just finished a cycle of coaching with someone who listened to my audiobook last summer, and we kept in contact. And she hired me to help her through a significant and difficult phase with her board of directors and with her salespeople. So the most direct way to reach me is john@klymshyn.com. And here's the thing. Anybody that reaches out to me that in the subject line of the email says influence, I will send them either a free audio file of me reading a chapter from my book or a PDF on either that article expanded or some other piece on leadership. All they have to do is put in the subject line influence and then tell me in the email what it is that they would like. And I will, as a gift to them, because our relationship is a gift to me. We want to help these leaders. We want to create more influence. And think about it, influence is a much better word than control.
We couldn't agree with you more, John. Thank you for your time. It's always good to talk to you. Ladies and gentlemen, again, look for this book. John has another version of it that talks about just for sales managers. So this is a great book.
And here's the other one. Here's the sales management book.
There you go.
I'll do a little shameless plug, Cedric. I had a chief information officer with a chemical company. Never done sales, never wanted to talk about sales. She hired me to come in and talk to her leaders, her 17-person leadership team. And her response to this book was, this is a leadership book wrapped in sales management clothing.
Nice, very nice. Can they find a book on your website, or where would they find?
Amazon. Go to Amazon or Audible. Amazon is for the hard copy. Audible is for the downloadable audio, and I narrate my own work, and I throw in a little extra stuff from what's not in the book. So Audible is a great source for that.
The always enjoyable John Klymshyn. Coach K, thank you for your time again. And thank you, audience. If you haven't subscribed to the show, please do. Influence Magazine show on your YouTube channel, influencenm.com for more information. Same time next week. Stay positive and let your light shine. We'll see you next time.